The Afternoon Show is back with Ike, Spike, and Fritz. Ike, well rested, I hope.
Oh, I am well rested, brother. Spike, Fritzy, I'll let you, boy.
How we doing? There we go. There you are. This is the first time you just responded. Very easily.
I know.
Yeah, there you go.
It's not that hard.
How we doing? There we go.
It's not that hard.
Well, yeah, it's really not. It's really not. Here we are on Monday with NBA free agency sort of winding to a close. I mean, you look on the internet, you see Paul George at Geno's, you see Paul George being interviewed by Johnny Airport. Sixers, have a couple of slots left, but mostly the offseason is done. I think it's time to take some inventory of where we are now that the dust has settled. And I want to talk about the guy who did all of it, and that is Daryl Morey, because he's been pretty polarizing here the last few years. He's done a phenomenal job, Daryl Morey has. And I think it's time to admit here what we have and maybe apologize. I think it's time for people to admit they were wrong about Daryl Morey and apologize for the way they've talked about him for the last few years. He rebuilt the entire team without having any down years, which is the same thing he did in Houston, by the way. In Houston, they lose Tracy McGrady, they lose Yao Ming. They completely rebuild the team without having a losing season. No tanking, no nothing. We have one of the best GMs in the history of the sport here in Philadelphia, and we should recognize it. Over a few years, when he got here, he has turned a core, aside from Joel Embiid, a core of Ben Simmons, Al Horford, and Tobias Harris into Paul George, Tyrese Maxey, Caleb Martin, along with 4 first-round picks, and he was able to do it because he's patient, he had a plan, and he executed the plan. He got Tyrese Maxey to wait a year on his extension, which, by the way, almost nobody does who's in Tyrese Maxey's situation. He got Paul George to leave his home in Los Angeles. He got Joel Embiid to stay patient the entire time and not complain publicly about what was going on, and he had so many chances to break. He had so many chances to just throw a first-round pick in so somebody would take Tobias Harris or maybe go in a little more at the trade deadline. But none of those things would have gotten us where we needed to go, and all of those things would have prevented the situation that we have here. So with the Sixers, we have as good an executive as Howie Roseman. All I hear in this city is Howie. And Howie's a great GM. But we should be happy that with the Philadelphia 76ers, we have a GM who is every bit as good as Howie Roseman, maybe even better. And you should be happy about it. Admit you were wrong and perhaps apologize. Ike, are you ready to celebrate Daryl Morey today?
Dude, I was almost ready to throw up right there. I mean, listen, I like Daryl Morey. I mean, that's a lot. You laid it on pretty thick there,
He's
brother.
Done a lot.
Yeah, you laid it on pretty thick there. I'll say this. Daryl Morey has done a nice job this offseason of sort of reshaping and revamping this Sixer roster. I'm pretty sure we'll get into it deeper as to what he's done and how these moves are significant.
Sure.
Or what have you. But here's what I'll say. First of all, I need to make sure these moves work. They look good on paper right now. Before I can even put him in the same category as Howie Roseman. I mean, really? I mean, he's not even – listen, Dave Dombrowski has come here and in a quicker time has gotten better results than Daryl Morey.
Well, it's a little bit easier in baseball than it is in –
No, it's not.
Sure it is.
No, of course it's not. It's much harder in baseball. It's much harder in baseball to put a roster together, first of all. Secondly, it's harder in baseball to actually have the level of success that the Phillies have had under Dave Dombrowski compared to what Daryl Morey has had to work with with the Sixers roster. He's had to reshape this roster because his first plan didn't work. The plan to trade Ben Simmons and bring in James Harden didn't work out. So
but it did work out.
Well, what did it win? What did it get us?
Because Paul George and an extra 2 first-round picks.
Okay,
I don't remember.
It's worked out for Paul George to get $200 and something million, but it only works out for us if we get to the conference finals or the NBA finals.
Well, look, he can't play for them.
Well, but that's how we measure their success.
We should measure his process. We should measure the moves that he made, and then when it comes down to it, the end of the day,
all that counts.
Yeah.
All that counts. But when Howie Roseman trades for A.J. Brown, if A.J. Brown stinks, Howie Roseman doesn't get credit for that.
Sure. If Paul George stinks, I would agree with you.
Right, so that's what I'm saying. That's all I'm saying.
That's fine.
And I don't expect Paul George to stink, but if A.J. Brown came here and the team didn't do as well, or if they draft a certain player and he doesn't play as well, like Howie Roseman doesn't get credit for that because it should have worked. No, he gets docked because he didn't see that it wouldn't work. So the James Harden for Ben Simmons thing that he waited on when he could have other players, he should have saw that James Harden was the player and had that level of commitment to winning, or lack of the level of commitment to winning that James Harden had, and decided that's not the route I want to go down. He only decided that after they had one of the worst collapses, well, the last 2 games of that Boston Celtics series. Would you agree? Daryl Morey, or somebody's opinion, changed the James Harden then. Well, prior to then, he was getting a max deal.
Well, remember, but he didn't give him a max deal.
Because he stunk.
Well, but
should he have given him a max deal?
Joel also stunk, but we also have to give him credit for not giving him the max deal. Look,
and I do. Yeah, I give him, or if he was told not to give him a max deal.
I think
either way, I'll give him credit for it.
He stood firm, and him standing firm forced Harden to opt in, forced him to be able to make that trade. And the reason I would compare Howie and Daryl there is because Howie's reign here has not been, and I'm not saying that you are saying this, but has not been flawless.
Yes, I agree.
He's had big misses as far as draft picks go. Mm-hmm. He's had a miss as far as contracts go with the, but he is able to pivot.
Talk about the ones he hit on, though.
No, but I agree. But what I'm saying is that one of the things that Howie is good at is saying, all right, I made this choice. It was the wrong choice, and I'm not going to be married to this choice just because I made this choice the first time. And I think what Morey did with Ben Simmons and trading for James Harden, look, they were in a 7-game series against the Celtics, who were a better team at the time. And I also don't think the market for Ben Simmons was particularly deep at that point, and I think their options were limited. And I think eventually, I don't like James Harden as much as anybody else does, but eventually that move ended up becoming the move that put them in the situation that they're in here today.
Sure.
And I think
he gets credit for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, he gets credit for that. You've gone over the top with the credit is my point.
I'm saying
I want to give him credit, and I like what he's done, but you've put him in the class of someone who was the architect of a championship. Like, he put that together fresh out the closet that Chip Kelly had him in. Fresh out the closet, he put a championship.
And he did a great
together.
job. He did a great job. But Daryl Morey is one of the best general managers in the history of the sport. The basketball is played differently today because of Daryl Morey.
Would you stop?
It's true.
Would you stop?
It's true.
And he was given Joel Embiid.
Well,
he inherited Joel Embiid.
That's fine. Howie inherited good players too. Everybody inherits good players. He was also
Howie's been here for a long time.
He was given Joel Embiid, but he was also given Ben Simmons, and he was also given Al Horford, and he was also given Tobias Harris. So
he gets props for moving that. I give him props for that. Yep.
Absolutely. 215-592-9494.
I mean, the GOAT in the city is Howie Roseman.
It could be two.
Like I said, Dave Dombrowski won titles elsewhere.
Yes, I know.
Yes, so I don't want to take that away from Spike.
Yeah, hold on. By the way, there's 2 Hall of Fame GMs.
So he's at least won championships.
Daryl Morey's a Hall of Fame GM.
No, he's not.
There's zero doubt. He's got the 4th highest winning percentage of all time of any general manager in basketball history.
He's not a Hall of Fame.
He's definitely a Hall of Famer.
A Hall of Fame GM?
He is definitely a Hall of Famer.
What? He said that James Harden's the genius of basketball?
By the way, the James Harden trade
should be that should keep him out of the Hall of Fame right there.
The best offensive player of all time, James Harden?
Well, for a moment, for 2 or 3 years, he
so
was.
You love James Harden?
Well, no, I'm telling you that they were a Western Conference Finals. They were a Western Conference challenger when nobody else was a challenger in the Western Conference.
Amazing.
Well, okay. Well, then Dave Dombrowski can come in and spend, and I could spend other people's money. Congrats, Dave, on spending other people's money.
Well, Daryl Morey, a pretty good roster since he's gotten here.
Money's already spent when he got here.
Spent. Tell me what value deal Dave Dombrowski has gotten.
Schwarber.
Okay. Tell me another.
Schwarber.
Okay.
Castellanos
All right,
worked
there we
out.
go. All right.
Castellanos.
Oh yeah, Castellanos. Total value deal.
A great player.
Total value deal on Nick Castellanos.
That's not a value
Trey
deal.
Turner.
Yeah.
That's not a value deal.
He got Brandon Marsh here.
Wait a minute. Trey Turner is not a value deal. He gave him $300 million, and he's only been good half the time that he's been here.
Three quarters.
Three quarters now.
Okay, well, he's only played 4 weeks this year. He was good for half a season last year. He's played 4 weeks. I'm saying, all I'm saying is that the heat that Morey took has been unfair.
I know you're ready. Listen, you're ready to throw the parade.
Well, I'm not ready to throw the parade. I'm saying that the heat has been unfair. He has been mischaracterized as like not a winner. Blah 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 blah. He knows what he's doing. He did not bow to public pressure. And by the way, for a GM that has as high a public profile as he has, and he is around and he hears everything, but to keep with his plan, stay focused, keep Joel Embiid's eye on the prize. We were all worried about Joel Embiid asking out. Never happened. Never even came close to happen. We're all worried that Paul George was going to stay in California because that's where he's from, me included. Didn't happen. Tyrese Maxey, that
had less to do with Daryl Morey and more to do with the dumbass Clippers.
Sure, but he also had to be in position to do that, and he had to be in position to get him to come here. Yep. And the Tyrese Maxey thing is the last thing, and then we'll get to calls.
Okay.
And are you ready to admit that you were wrong about Daryl Morey? 215-592-9494. 215-592-9494 is
Elton Brand's pick.
Well, okay. I mean, if it was a bad pick, he would get blamed for it. But fine, he got Elton Brand's pick. But the other thing that happened with Tyrese Maxey is if he isn't able to convince Clutch, Maxey's agency, and Maxey last summer to say, okay, this is fine that we're not going to get our extension, our rookie extension, when every other great rookie in the NBA gets the extension with 1 year left. Tyrese Maxey was absolutely deserving of this extension last summer.
Sure.
But Morey was able to for a guy, who sometimes his relationship stuff is questioned across the league, to have a bad situation with Ben, with the same exact agent, to have a situation with Maxey in which they patiently wait to this offseason to get that money. And I know everybody says, well, he knew the money was coming. You go into a final year of a contract with GM saying, okay, just trust me. Especially after what happened with Harden. And they trusted him, and he got the money, and they were able to do it. And this is harder than it looks, is all I'm saying. 215-592-9494. Are you ready to admit you were wrong about Daryl Morey and perhaps apologize to him? We will take those apologies right now.
It seems like people are lining up for that.
Well, when I tell people to thank me and to apologize, they line up to do so.
Yeah. It never really works out that way.